I remember you said to me yesterday, I can shut up any classroom in 5 seconds, no matter what. And I was like, dang, that's a skill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. When parents would come on field trips when I was a teacher, they'd be like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, it's magic. But the magic is getting to know the kids and having them buy in. Why are we quiet? Why is only one person speaking at a time? And let me tell you, that child who is the biggest interrupter will tell you, how will I be able to be sharing if nobody can hear me because somebody else is talking? I'm going to remember that. Then when we go over the rules a day later, remember what our friend said. That kid who's going to be the interrupter. Remember, thank you so much for reminding us that it's so important to hear what our colleagues, our friends are saying. And all of a sudden that kid is like, yeah, I know.
And quiet and waiting for their turn.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they are now the leader of that. Welcome to today's Heart of the Hustle. I am on the road here at the Maplewood, New Jersey Library with my dear friend Danny, and we're going to talk all things neurodiversity and helping school programs and other kind of enrichment programs for children be more accepting to people who are neurodiverse. So, hi. I am so excited to talk to you about this. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I know. So Danny and I have been friends forever. We actually met in
14, 15 years.
Yeah, 15 it should be, right? Because our kids were born in December. We met in prenatal yoga. And
we're both like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
We went at like 3 months.
our kids were born like 2 days apart.
Yeah.
And so we've been friends ever since.
Yay.
And you are a huge advocate for people with neurodiversity. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that.
Okay, so a couple of things. I mean, I have ADHD, so let's start there. I diagnosed myself in my 20s and realized just how hard it was when I was a kid, because I did a lot of masking that I didn't even realize. Yeah. It's looking backwards that you're like, people are like, you laugh so loud, you talk so loud, you're always bouncing. Why are you always doing cartwheels on the stage while we're in band practice? And I'd be like, gotta get, I don't know, I just want to. It's just
just bounce.
It's just in me. It's like I can't help it. I remember in high school, kids would like hide my Walkman because I'd be dancing down the hallway. Like, what? I'm in my own little like movie. And somebody actually did that. And so looking backwards, I was like, wow. I realized I also had a lot of rejection sensitivity because, I was great in school and I was a really good student, but, I was told by my family, like, you're so loud, be quieter, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Brooklyn, Italian, and ADHD. What a combination. So, so it started then. And then when I was in college, I just realized I had to like sit down in a room with classical music and just studying was rewriting my notes over and over again. Could not read a book because I would just be like, wait, what? And just try to read a page of jargon. So I just copied my notes over and over again until I learned things. And then I got diagnosed when I was in my 20s. I read, Driven to Distraction by Edward Hallowell. It was one of his first books and changed my life. And, of course, the therapist was like, well, you've really done a great job of figuring it out. And I was like, yeah, it's still pretty hard. Like no medication mentioned. I was like, it's just hard all the time. But I had all these coping skills, like Post-it notes everywhere, And so finally, when I was older, I had my kids and I got postpartum was really hard. Really talked about that diagnosis. Still got meds for anxiety, but not for that. And having kids was like ridiculous. I mean, talk about going 80 miles per hour with everything I did and never being able to stop.
Yeah.
It was like I even prepared to relax. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to relax by cleaning my house first, cleaning the bathtub, getting all the candles out, getting my book, making sure everything is like just perfect. I'd be like, I guess I'm going to relax now. I'm really tired. So then my children, grew up and my daughter started showing signs of just her brain worked differently. It was really hard to communicate. I didn't really understand. I would ask her, well, tell me about what we did today. What was your favorite thing? And we would have gone to the zoo and she would have said pizza. And I was like, well, I doesn't have anything. Yeah, she has, you know, people would walk into the house and instead of hi or hello, she'd be like, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is purple. Did you eat pizza today? Did you go to the zoo? And it was like, we went to the zoo. We saw the monkeys. And how about hello? Like, hi. So, you know, we just started seeing some things. And over 1 year, we found out our beautiful daughter had epilepsy, ADHD, and on the autism spectrum. And then it was like, whoa, okay. And I've come to the realization that I really understand now is that we speak a different language. Like basically there is no, you know, you can go learn Spanish, you can go learn Italian. There's even like, you know, Duolingo. There's no Duolingo for neurodiversity, you know? And then I finally got medicated and sorted through my own, you know, mental health issues. And just as being a teacher and watching so many kids not getting services, having to leave my profession and deal with our school district to help her get the best services and
which was
all of that.
Long fight. I mean, you know, I'm sure you can't talk about it more, but it was, as an outsider, you know, who was involved, like, it was a long process just to get her the services that she needed.
Yeah, and that was all in the same year of finding everything. And every time I was like, okay, epilepsy, so I have to learn about epilepsy. And then I'm like, wait a second, epilepsy and ADHD. So now I have to learn about those. Oh, and autism, such big buckets, but for them to be like besties, I always say they all come with friends. If you've got epilepsy, there's going to be a friend. If you've got autism, there's going to be a friend. So just all three together, I just couldn't even keep up with what I was doing. I was just trying to figure out how to manage, how to understand what she needed. Her communication style was otherworldly to me. And I, as a mom, felt overwhelmed, under pressure, really wanted to do it right, had no clue what I was doing. And at the time, her dad and I, it was really hard in our relationship.
And you had a second kid at this point as well, which that's hard on a marriage.
So it was right when he was born. It was a year after he was born that we got all the diagnoses. So he's one, and he's also, you know, coming into this, our beautiful family, and also being a part of everything we're going through. And as I just kept working as a teacher, and then I became a tutor for kids who are neurodiverse, guys, it doesn't exist, you know? And the idea that, you know, parents are like, I really want my kid to learn. And it's like, okay, but if they have ADHD, that process is not going to be we sit down and we just work. That process is going to be a relationship building process. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy and getting to know your child. I have to know what they care about, what matters to them, and how to redirect them in a way that's not shaming or judging, but just like, wow, you're so excited about, you know, the fact that you went skateboarding today. You know, tell me a little bit more about that. Okay, cool. Stop right there. You can tell me another story. Let's take a look at this math problem, you know, and just trying to relate things and giving a lot of positive praise, because kids who are on the spectrum, kids who have ADHD, anything, they get a lot of critical comments and a lot of redirection, and this is how you do it, and this is what you're supposed to do, when really their behavior is just unexpected. Like, we do some of the same things. We do everything. We all do the same behaviors. It's just that ours look different. Like, if we get excited, woo, yay, 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 and, you know, but if a child with autism is like, we're like, oh, that's hand flapping and stimming.
Yeah.
But if you took just that piece out, we all do something like that. It's just, it looks different in somebody who's neurodiverse.
Yeah. So you were saying that things weren't going great with your husband. She's been diagnosed with multiple things. You've got a 1-year-old. Tell us more. What happened next?
What happened
now
next?
You're tutoring. So you sort of taken this knowledge and started using it for good. You're like, I'm going to be a tutor for neurodiverse kids, right?
Yeah. And that was, I mean, I had more than I could keep up with. I wound up hiring more tutors. It was great. But I also was burning myself out, because becoming now a single mom for 50% of the time, I co-parent, just doing that myself and moving into an apartment and And my own mental health started to really suffer, really suffer, because her needs and having a tutoring program. And then I started working full time to make ends meet, and I just crashed and burned, and I wound up having my own mental health crisis where I started to have suicidal ideation and checked myself in, and golden lining, I have bipolar, which is amazing and wonderful. And the reason why I say that is because for years and years and years, they kept trying to give me medicine for ADHD, anxiety and depression. Nothing worked. And that was because I didn't have this diagnosis. And now that I do, not only do I feel great, but I have a better relationship with my kids because I was reluctant. I just didn't know how to even lean in. And now I could be more engaging and I could be more loving and not so distant, which I didn't know why I was. It was heartbreaking. I felt like I had to be here with my kids. I had to be over here. They had to be here because I had to manage things.
Right.
And I wanted to give more and enjoy more, but it always felt like I was ready and I was hypervigilant about going outside and hanging out with our friends. Like I didn't want to have that many play dates because I was afraid we wouldn't be accepted, and I didn't want my child to be ostracized or made fun of. And so slowly over time, I really built up this feeling like, well, I'm confident, I'm secure. What other people think really doesn't matter. And I'm just always going to be open to having the conversation about my own mental health and her. And it just led me to more and more doing a lot of conversations with people, especially parents of neurotypical kids, saying that we need to all be more curious and less judgmental. And that goes for everybody. That goes for parents in general. I mean, gosh, we are just so unkind to ourselves. And then we're always like, oh, that kid is acting out. What a brat. And we need to just, no.
Well, we don't have any awareness of what neurodiversity looks like.
Right.
Right. And what is normal, giant air quotes if you're listening to this and not watching it, right? Giant air quotes, like what's normal, what's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I love that you said what it looks like because it's invisible too. Yeah. Like if somebody has a stroke, like an adult has a stroke, or I mean, I don't know any children who have stroke, but you don't know until you start talking to somebody and so you start interacting. And then what goes through a lot of people's mind is not, oh, this is interesting or this is unexpected or I'm going to try to figure out how to engage, but oh, they must have this, they must be that, it must be, autism, it must be this. Forget about that. You can't diagnose somebody by their actions. They're trying to communicate something to you. How do you just be okay with that? I think people also are reluctant because they're afraid of offending or afraid of saying the wrong thing. And it's like, we're just humans. Let's just acknowledge our brains work differently and be kinder to each other and more. I just feel like safe and welcoming are my key words here because I've learned how to be more safe and welcoming to my own children. And that's something that I get really vulnerable about. It was a long time for me to accept my own child's diagnoses and the fact that I had no Rosetta Stone to help me understand how to communicate with her. And I still don't.
Yeah.
But that's okay because I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to be patient and be kind. And I'm not going to lie, that was something that was not easy. I was not always patient. I was not always kind, but we're resilient and I keep trying. And I want to help people understand so they don't even feel shame. I want everybody to just be okay.
I think there's a lot of shame around the grieving process. I saw that with you, and we have some other friends in common who have, children who are neurodiverse, and so it's that grieving of maybe doesn't look the way I thought it was going to look. In many ways looks better, right? But just that, we come in with all these preconceived notions of what parenthood's going to look like, right? It's going to be the Hallmark movie version of parenthood. And then it's not really for any of us, but there's always a grieving process in that.
And it's interesting you say that because last night, here we are, it's 2025. My daughter is 14. Okay. And last night, I'm getting ready to pack her up for camp. So exciting. She's going her first overnight camp. And I'm cleaning her room. And when I say cleaning, I mean, she just deposits things everywhere. Like even things that are like, Crayola shavings, like they're deposited in sort of like a creative sort of manner. And as I was going through her room, I was just thinking, why aren't all the makeups together? Why are there brushes here and brushes here? Like every surface has some brushes. Right. Every surface has some makeup. Every surface has some Legos. Every surface has some art. I'm like, wait a second. I would put all my collections together. Right. She wants to, and
she likes a little bit of stuff everywhere. And that's nothing.
Yes.
Not right or wrong.
And that was like eureka, I mean, even just last night that, it's just different and it's not unorganized or wrong because I was already making that judgment, And so.
Well, we think people are going to think the way that we think.
Yeah.
And I don't think we give ourselves the opportunity to think that, they just think differently than me, right? We come in with automatic assumptions that everyone thinks and acts like we do. Right. When they don't, they're doing it wrong.
Right.
And it's really just, I think, a coping mechanism because we don't have the bandwidth to think that everyone might be different and and handle everybody. Like I think it's just human. Yeah. It's human nature, but it's something that we have to evolve away from.
I mean, it's also growing up. Well, I wouldn't put the plant in that location if I lived in this house, or the couch is not quite, I don't think that's very comfortable, it's just immediately hearing my family be like, well, it's decorated on a different way than I would do it. It's like, yeah, and that's okay. And then I started, it was just really last night was just such a moment because then I went back to my own space and I was like, I have like, my earrings are set in a certain place and I sort of decorate my little bookshelf with, like pretty earrings that are just kind of necklaces laid out and my, oracle cards just like set up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going on 50 and I'm like, I do the same thing. And just, I have those moments where like, oh my God, we're so similar. And we're so, it's great to feel this sense of joy more now, to really enjoy her. And it's been a long road with medications and therapies and doctor's appointments. I am the CEO, co-CEO. Her dad is we're both constantly filling out forms, finding new therapies. But I'd say that the greatest thing that is happening right now, and the thing I am also working on, is that more training for people. I mean, when you have a youth organization, if you have a spectrum of people from neurotypical, which, I mean...
Whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. It's basically the average, right? The majority in some way. But we're getting away from that because there's more and more of percentages of people who are neurodiverse. Autism, especially in New Jersey. It just happens to be. So if that's the way it is, and then you have kids that are on the spectrum of really struggle with communication, they need more of an adaptive program. But in the middle, there's all these kids that are more like my bonus kids. I have two kids that they're my partner's children, and I have my own son, and neurodivergent as well. And are they going to get kicked out of the local after-school program? And I was just talking to somebody on the way here who said that they were grappling with that because there aren't, places where a child could go when they're overstimulated and they just need to regulate. They know it. They're like, it's just too loud. I need a quiet corner. People are not thinking about it, and not to judge those programs. They just are unaware and they don't realize it's a need. And so I try to help programs understand the physical environment, have their staff really be curious and think about building relationships with kids. Because you just can't go into camp and be like, we're going to have so much fun and let's just go. You need guidelines and you need to get to know each kid and communicate with their family. And there's a lot of beautiful young people who are doing these programs. They need some training. They don't know what they don't know. And they're thirsty for it because it feels uncomfortable to see kids bullying or to see a kid who just kind of keeps himself off to the corner. And then you have that kid who's just enthusiastic about everything and wants to talk all the time and woo! And counselors like, now how do I sort of contain this when there's all these other kids around and trying to have a conversation with the parent? This parent was saying, like, the last 5 minutes of camp, I'm trying to like hold on to all my children, and then telling the camp counselor, well, he didn't throw something at someone because he doesn't like them. It was, I walk in here, it's super, super, super noisy. He's very overstimulated. He needs that space. But that shouldn't be a conversation you're having halfway through a program. It should be something that is thought out ahead of time by the program, and parents should be welcomed in to have that conversation before. And it just takes planning, and that's what I do. That's my role. It helps everybody. I mean, it helps these programs retain clients. Those kids are going to refer. If Mark is having a really good time at camp, he's going to tell his friend, oh my gosh, you could come to camp. It's awesome. And then he's going to be your customer who gets that referral going, better than a Google review. And then it's great for the community because I have to travel a long ways to get something for my daughter who has a lot of adaptive needs, but also other families who are in that middle, they're always seeking out a program that really is going to be kind and, not make their child feel sad and unhappy and not want to go to camp.
Or come home and be just melt down.
Yeah.
Right?
They got to mask.
They've been so masking, so heavily masking all day. They're exhausted. They haven't had a chance to, have a quiet moment, and they just melt down.
Yeah.
Right. And for the parents, that's a lot too, right? It's no fun for anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're like, why am I even sending my kid to camp?
Right. And I think that's the thing, is that understanding that child is suffering.
Right.
Masking is exhausting, and I've done it.
Yeah.
Like when I was in my worst depths of depression, it was so hard, but I'd be like, I got this. And, if we would have a conversation, I'm like, making it happen.
Yeah.
And then I would be
with the deep breath.
Okay. And then, I can do this. And then he'd be like, you're strong. And I'd be like, yes, I'm strong. And then 15 minutes after I felt more comfortable, I was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm so tired. She wakes up in the middle of the night and I can't. And then by the end of the conversation, okay. Thank God for a really great friend circle with parents of neurotypical, and parents of kids who are neurodiverse. It's really important for me to be able to unmask and just fall to pieces. And but my daughter comes home after camp now and is shot. And luckily figured it out, color by number is really relaxing for her, watching a little bit of Lego Masters, whatever it takes, sitting on the couch, having a Go-Gurt, whatever she needs. And then later she'll be jumping in and out of the sprinkler. What a sensorily amazing experience is that for her, just jumping back and forth. And that might not be something that it's unexpected, that a kid would just be running around, like getting all their energy out. But how wonderful is that? It's just watching her unabashedly joyful and, knowing what she needs. And we've come a long way, and it's still,
We've come a long way in being like, okay, she wants to go run in the sprinkler, let her go run in the sprinkler, and not being like, it's supposed to look like this, or you're not supposed, come inside. We don't do that after 6 o'clock. We don't, you know what I mean? And giving her the grace to work through whatever she needs to work through, while also, having boundaries.
Right.
Right. And all of that, and all of that as well.
Yeah.
So what kind of programs are you working with? Like the YMCA, or is it camps? Tell us more about the types of people who you can help.
So it's after school programs like the YMCA. It is camp programs and kid classes. So one of my first clients was an after school class for improv, and the owner is just an amazing woman. And this is how I started my business. She said, we have all these conversations about kids who are neurodiverse. You've heard me ask about kids who have ADHD in our program. Their parents have told us, so we really know it's not just we're guessing. And we have this child who just talks and talks and talks throughout the whole class, and we need help. Yeah. Can you come in and observe and then do a training? I said, sure. So I came in and observed, and wow, these are beautiful, amazing teaching artists. They don't have classroom management skills. They have no idea. They just want to do something fun with the kids. That's exactly.
I have no idea.
Right. You've told me about doing yoga with kids, right? And just
yeah. I don't know. And I remember you said to me yesterday, I can shut up any classroom in 5 seconds, no matter what. Yeah. And I was like, dang, that's a skill. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. When parents would come on field trips when I was a teacher, they'd be like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, it's magic. But the magic is getting to know the kids and having them buy in. Why are we quiet? Why is only one person speaking at a time? And let me tell you, that child who is the biggest interrupter will tell you, how will I be able to be sharing if nobody can hear me because somebody else is talking? I'm going to remember that. Then when we go over the rules a day later, remember what our friend said. That kid who's going to be the interrupter. Remember, thank you so much for reminding us that it's so important to hear what our colleagues, our friends are saying. And all of a sudden that kid is like, yeah, I know.
And quiet and waiting for their turn.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they are now the leader of that. And so using that and having the kids gently remind each other instead of, shut up. I hate the word shut up. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, just building a relationship, and then you have to start with guidelines. You have to start with, and why do we do this? Getting the kids to tell you makes your life so much easier. Because then they're looking around like, hello, why are you guys being quiet? So yeah, that's the start. And then doing the training was, I basically said, here are some strategies, but I'm going to be the kid, or I'm going to be the teacher. You guys be the kids. Let's practice. What does this look like? Because you can't do it if you don't actually prepare ahead of time. It's like, I'm going to go run a marathon. Well, if you don't run, if you don't train, you're going to be that 1 mile in and be like, I pulled a hammy, I'm out. So the same thing, you have to practice, and you have to be okay with being uncomfortable, because it's really hard to zip your lips when children are talking and you want to get them quiet. I don't use any words to get them quiet. It's all hand signals. It's all nonverbal. It's walking around and it's talking like this. Like, oh, can you guys hear what I'm saying? Okay, great. I want to make sure everybody can hear it. And the quieter I get, the quieter they become. Because it's just, but people don't think that way because it's all classroom management from 20 years of teaching. So I love to go in and do that and give them practice. By the end of the training, they're very open and very vulnerable, saying, well, I think this child has autism, but, and I'll say, okay, time out. Forget about a label. What behaviors are happening that are giving you, this question mark of what do I do? And that's amazing. It's very vulnerable to say, I don't know. I'm so scared. I know they're being bullied, but I don't know what to do, because they're admitting that they're, in fear and scared. And I think some people think that if they say that, they'll be admonished instead of helped. Mm-hmm. And then the last piece is just teaching them how to talk to families. And I wind up being sort of on retainer, right? So afterwards, okay, you get the observation, you get some feedback, you get the training for everybody. So everybody's now on the same page of knowing some things and can talk to each other outside of the classes. And then what's the follow-up? Well, they go put it in practice, and I follow up and say, okay, how'd it go? What's going on? How did that feel? And then there's a child that might need to exit the program, even though we had the contract that you helped us develop, even though we had those guidelines, they're just not right for the program. Well, how do you exit them gently? Because we don't want to say throwing a kid out of, nobody wants to say, my kid got thrown out.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to feel that they're being thrown out. So how do you exit someone?
Business wants to have a Google review that says my kid got thrown out.
Exactly.
Right? And it's okay to say they gently exited my child from the program because it wasn't right for them, right?
It wasn't a good fit.
Right.
For both of us. It's mutual.
Yeah.
You want it to feel mutual because you don't want to lose that. And the best thing could be to say, you know what? I've learned a lot from having your child in this program. And I feel like we've had some training. I think we need more. And at some point, I'll let you know if we come up with a program that's a little bit more adaptive and smaller class size. Because that's a goal. It's a goal for every program that should have some sort of different offerings. You're going to build your client base. And let me tell you, the community and the people in it will be so grateful.
Yeah. Well, and because the numbers, as we said earlier, of kids who are being diagnosed as neurospicy, right?
Yeah.
My favorite word, is going up and up and up, right? So from a business perspective, right, there's a business there, right?
Absolutely.
There is an audience of kids and parents who don't feel like they can do a camp or do something else, right? Mm. And so there is a market there for these businesses, to be smart and offer these kind of services, but they have to be trained.
Yes. And if you even have something like, I always take YMCA is just a great example, like an organization like that. If they have a fair to invite people in and to celebrate in the community, they also need to think about who is being welcomed and invited. Because I definitely feel like I don't have an invitation to go to events because they don't have the quiet spaces. The vendors don't know. They are not, and it's not like you need training, you just need a little knowledge. So if there is a quiet space, where is it? And the vendors should know. These little things that add up to just thousands of people in the community feeling like, okay, I can go and somebody's thinking of me. I'm being invited to this. There's a wonderful event in a neighboring town, and that's where we went for the 4th of July because I knew that they had a sensory-friendly space where kids could decompress. And I said, great. I cried when I found out about it because I've been looking for every 4th of July event. My daughter can't go see the fireworks.
It's a lot.
She has epilepsy. Yeah. She could have a seizure.
Yeah.
So we want to make it a fun 4th of July, but we have to do something early in the day, and we want to make sure she's available to do it, and there's something for her that works, and something that doesn't make me feel hypervigilant that she's going to be bothersome to someone or they're going to judge, because that just feels icky.
Yeah.
I may not care what people think, but it just doesn't feel good anyway. Yeah. So I really want to work with those kinds of programs. My goal is to work with, local classes, people who do classes, people who do camps, but getting bigger and bigger. So it becomes, our town has this sort of framework for people, for the rec department. Even our businesses have a little bit of a framework. For me, it's just the better we can get at that, the more safe, welcoming, and inclusive spaces we have that everybody in the community can take part in. That's my big vision.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited.
I know.
This is great.
And so if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Okay, so my website is Different Minds, Strong Bonds, and I am on LinkedIn. You can find me at Danielle Perrotta, and I'm also on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome.
Yay. Thank you. I love you too.